Who are you? And where are you going? What do you want? For the next 24 minutes, we're going to design and attain your ideal life. On the Way to Wow Show. Together, we'll find the ideal path to get you back on the track to success and happiness. On the Way to Wow Show with your host, Kevin Bemmel.
Konnichiwa. Hello and welcome from dystopic Los Angeles. I don't know about you, but for most of my life, I haven't slept well. Now, sometimes it was just I had stuff that was much more interesting to do than sleep. Other times, I would have paid, I think, $1 million if I could have just gotten some rest. So my guest today is going to clue us in on why we have trouble sleeping and what we can do about it. And I guarantee you, his level of energy will keep you awake. Our guest bartender today is BC Hoffman. Now, he skipped a generation, but his grandmother owned a bakery, and from the tender age of 13, he knew he wanted to be in the food and beverage business. In fact, he started planning meals and events at that very, very young age, and professionally at the age of 20. Now, almost 2 decades later, he has opened restaurants on 3 continents, and he was the manager of one of my wife's and my favorite bars, Edison, in downtown Los Angeles. His knowledge of food and beverage is really encyclopedic. I'm so happy to have you on the Way to Wow show.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome. So what are you going to make for us today?
Today we're going to do a variation of a banana hammock cocktail. I mean, look, if there's any time to be festive, it's right now, because you got to be happy, you got to be excited, and you got to enjoy yourself, because otherwise you're going to go crazy with everything that's going on in the world.
I agree. I agree.
And what better way to do it than with a little tiki action?
Okay. Yeah.
But we're flipping it. So
Okay.
we're flipping the script. The reason why I wanted to do this was, you're talking to a very extremely talented, extremely knowledgeable person about sleep. And what better way than to incorporate ingredients that will help you sleep in your cocktail?
Oh, absolutely.
So in this, in the banana hammock, there's rum, there's lime juice, but we're switching. I actually have a chamomile infused Johnny Walker in here.
Okay.
Because a little chamomile action puts you to sleepy time. We also have chocolate liqueur, dark cacao. I can't speak, apparently. Dark cacao is actually really good, also for sleep. Helps with your REM, especially if you're a fan of songs by them. A little dry vermouth, a little lemon juice instead of the lime juice. And then we've got a almond syrup. Almonds are a superfood for sleeping well. And lastly, a banana liqueur. And the banana liqueur is great because bananas have tryptophan in them, which also...
So interestingly enough, one of the things that our guest recommends to sleep well is to make tea by boiling banana skins.
See, look at that.
So there you go. You're right in line.
I walked in knowing. I was like, I think...
Right.
So perfect, yeah. So do you want to do this with me? I'm going to have you do this, actually.
all right.
Because, okay, so... You're always going to want to start, you probably already know this, but you always want to start with the small side tin.
No, so I learned something already. Okay.
Okay, so this is our jigger right here. So we're going to do 2 at a time.
Okay.
So we're doing 2 cocktails. So we're going to fill this all the way up to the top.
Okay.
With,
with
the infusion. Okay. And kind of do a quick, yeah. Well, you know what? Here we go. If we get a little flour in there.
Yeah, it won't hurt. There you go.
So right up to the top.
Okay, and then dump this in here?
Right in there. And then, like, if you've ever been in chemistry class, you know, how they always say, like right underneath the meniscus. So you want to get all the way to the top. So we're going to go 1 more ounce. So if you flip it.
Oh, okay.
So right there, that's 1 ounce. And we're going to get 1 more ounce in. Okay. If need to, we'll punch it up with a little extra Johnny. And I love Johnny Walker because this is actually what my grandfather drank.
Yeah, it's what my father drank.
See?
Johnny Walker Black.
It was meant to be in this drink. This drink was meant to be made today by you. So
I agree. All right. What are we doing next?
Okay, so the next thing, and any bartender who's watching, you're probably like, why are you putting the expensive ingredient in first? Because they always say start with the cheaper ingredients and then work your way with the expensive. Because that way, if you mess up, you can throw it out, you're not wasting. But guess what? We're making this, it's gonna be delicious regardless.
Okay.
So, the next thing we're gonna do, we're gonna take, so for 1 cocktail, it'll be 3/4 ounces lemon juice. So we're actually gonna bump it up to 1.5 ounces.
Okay.
So if you fill right where that line is
Okay.
with lemon juice. Perfect. Oh yeah.
Okay.
Okay, and then we're going to do the chocolate.
Chocolate,
Yeah.
okay.
Chocolate liqueur. We're gonna do 1/2 ounce for 1 cocktail, so 1 full ounce all the way to the top.
Oh, all the way to the top.
All the way to the tippy. Perfect. Okay.
It's all the way from Kings County in New York.
Then we're gonna take the banana liqueur,
Okay.
and it would be 1/2 ounce, so we're gonna do 1 ounce as well.
Say all the way to the top.
All the way to the top. Perfect.
Oops. Okay.
Caution, may dribble. And then we're gonna do 1/4 ounce of the dry vermouth.
Okay.
So 1/2 ounce, which is gonna be that line right there.
The bottom line?
Yeah, and you guys at home, or girls, if you're making this at home, by all means, if you have a jigger, you can use a jigger. If you don't have a jigger, you can use the XO baking cups. You can use, there's so many different ways that you can measure. In the industry, we use the finger count sometimes if we don't have any measuring device. So 2 fingers, or if you go to Scotland and ask for a dram and you say, I want 2 fingers, that's a nice heavy pour of about 2 ounces of scotch.
Perfect.
And then we're gonna add in 1/4 ounce for 1 cocktail, so 1/2 ounce of the almond. Right up to that second, a little bit more.
Oh, second one, okay.
Yeah.
That's right.
Perfect. There we go. And last but not least, we're gonna add in our ice.
Oh,
so
okay.
when you're putting the ice in here, you want to just get it all the way to the top with ice.
Okay. Yeah,
I think.
that's true.
So then what we're gonna do, so you're gonna just take that, put that right on top.
Okay. Do I have to like pound it or?
Yeah, you want to go straight on top, give it a nice pound. That creates that vacuum seal. You flip it, and then you're right over your shoulder. And I'm just gonna do a quick pound because there's a little looseness.
Okay.
There we go. So hold it right. Perfect.
Nice shape. And I'm listening to it.
This is your cardio for the day.
It's saying drink me. Drink
Exactly.
Me. I like this.
Get it. See, because after you do this workout, you've worked out your arms, right?
Yeah.
I'm just gonna give it a little extra.
Okay. See the extra professional shake. See, you really know how to do it.
I practice. And then we're just gonna pour this right in.
Whoa.
And then spill it on myself. Sorry about that. As the towel
Oh, that's
goes
right.
down.
You're gonna put it in the pot there. So it almost looks like tea.
It does, and we have a little dry ice right here, and it's starting to actually come out of our teapot.
You can see it's smoking. Oh,
There you
yeah,
go.
nice.
And then we'll just pour that right. If you could, we're just gonna top that with ice.
Oh, okay.
In both of these. So ice is always the last thing you're gonna put into your tin. And the reason being, you wanna chill the drink without over diluting.
Okay. Is that enough?
That's perfect.
Okay.
You, sir, are a natural.
Well, you know.
When the
Thank
bar
you.
of this status is in your house, there's good reason that you're
As I tell
professional.
people, we take our drinking seriously in this house.
Just pouring that right in, and then we'll top it off with some of these chamomile flowers. think so.
Oh, this is spectacular.
And there you have it. This is a version of a banana hammock that we will call Sleepy Time.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Thank
to
you,
Sleepy
sir.
Time.
To sleepy time.
And sweet dreams.
Oh, man, that is delicious.
Salud.
Seriously delicious. You got to try this before going to bed next time.
Refreshing, delicious, and thank you again so much for having me here.
Thanks for coming to the Way to Wow
course.
show. Yeah,
Yeah.
terrific. Thank you. So my next guest is Dr. Michael Bruce. And if you are having trouble sleeping, this is the man that you want to know about. But you won't sleep through his interview, I assure you for that. He's a fascinating person. I met Michael at the Milk and Global Conference a couple of years ago now.
Yep.
And I have had insomnia all my life. And I'm telling you, he solved it. It seemed like just like that. So, and by the way, I thank you. My wife thanks you.
You're very welcome.
You know, all that.
My pleasure.
So I want to give you a couple of bits of background about Michael. First of all, he's a clinical psychologist. He's a diplomat of the American Board of Sleep Medicine, and you gained that at the age of 31, right?
That's correct. So they think I was the youngest person to ever take and pass the sleep medicine boards, but what was ridiculous about it was I took the medical boards without going to medical school. So as a PhD was how I ended up taking it. So that was kind of the thing or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, I was one of the youngest Eagle Scouts in history, but this is a much bigger
That's
accomplishment.
awesome, dude. Oh, I love the Scouts. That's amazing.
He's also a fellow of the American Academy of Sleep Medicine, and he's one of only, get this, 168 people in the world with those credentials.
Yep.
Michael also consults for some very well-known companies and brands, including Disney, Princess Cruise Lines, Advil PM, which I think is very interesting. Let's just start, at the real basic question. Okay. So, it seems like nobody in the United States gets enough sleep, right?
Yeah,
so what is the issue with sleep?
So here's the thing. Sleep is the most fundamental aspect to the human existence, right? Like from the dawn of time, within a certain period of time, likely 24 hours or so, whatever that creature was, took a nap, right? So it's been going on for quite a while. The problem is that there's a part of our brain that the more sleep deprived we get, the more it tells us we're okay. Because back in the prehistoric days, it wasn't great to take a nap on the Serengeti because you could be somebody's lunch, right? So it was this drive to keep going and get into safety has been something. So what happens a lot of times is people just kind of brush off the signs or symptoms that they're tired earlier in the evenings, and then they get driven by their phones or Netflix. It was great. I thought that it was interesting. The CEO of Netflix said that his biggest competitor in the marketplace is sleep. Isn't that amazing? It's truly amazing, right?
That is astonishing.
Yeah, so what is our problem with sleep? We don't value it. I would say that when we all of a sudden discover that we might not get it or get good quality, it becomes very, very valuable very, very quickly. And then we become obsessed with it.
Right. So that was going to be my next question is, what is good quality sleep, right?
So there's lots of fancy ways to figure it out, right? I've got like a tracker on my finger here that tracks my activity and my sleep and all that kind of good stuff. You could do it that way if you wanted to, and then you could look at the numbers and you can play with all the data. But the truth of the matter is, if you wake up and you feel good, you probably got good sleep. Like 8 hours is a myth. Right? Like I don't get 8 hours. I'm the sleep doctor, for God's sakes. I don't get 8 hours. I go to bed right around midnight. I wake up at approximately 6:15 every day without an alarm, period. And this is me with no caffeine. Right? I mean, look at this. It's ridiculous. I'm 52 years old, and like I have plenty of energy. Like I feel great. And I sleep 6 hours and 15 minutes. Michael, how do you do something like that? So I'll tell you, what I did was, and this is where I got into the coaching aspect to it, is I became super consistent. And that consistency, so first thing I did was I identified what's called my circadian rhythm or my chronotype. We've talked before about this.
Right.
So for folks out there who may not know what it is, so a chronotype, you might have heard of the term before, or not heard of the term, but know the concept. Early bird, night owl. Right? So once you know if you're an early bird or a night owl, or there's a couple other ones out there, if people want to check out my quiz, chronoquiz.com, it's a great place, you'll love it, it's super fun. Once you figure that part out and you can sleep inside your chronotypical bedtime, and just to be clear, that's a genetic thing, that's not something that you get to choose. Like I could look at your 23andMe data or your Ancestry.com data and I could tell you what your chronotype is.
Okay.
So it's not one of those things, unfortunately, we get to choose. But once you're sleeping inside your chronotypical schedule, it consolidates.
Oh,
yeah, I know. I had no idea, right? So I just started. I'm a night owl, so I was always going to bed at midnight. I was waking up at 7:30, and then it was 7:15, and then it was 7, and then it was 6:45, and all of a sudden my body just, and I only need 6 hours and 15 minutes of sleep.
So you mentioned before that you started getting your best sleep when you were being consistent.
Correct.
So what is it that you were consistent about that led you there?
So it was really my bedtime and wake up time. And now what I've discovered is it's really the wake up time. So once you are consistent and it begins to consolidate, right when it kind of hits its max, which is apparently where I am, then it's all about the wake up time.
And so the other factors, there's this term out there, sleep hygiene, that
Yes.
I learned it, I think, several years ago now, right? I think if I say sleep hygiene to my wife one more time,
right,
she's going to shoot you. She's going to kill me in my sleep.
Yeah, I understand. So when we think, so the way the term kind of got coined was basically, you've got dental hygiene, maybe you should have some sleep hygiene. And basically what it's talking about, the basic parameters are keep it cool, keep it dark, right, and keep it quiet. And so, it's very hibernation focused, if you will. So what a lot of, and to be fair, sleep hygiene recommendations, they've been around for a while. And the data on them says they're good to do, but if you got insomnia, they're not going to cure your insomnia. Right?
Oh.
The data does not suggest that. The data would suggest that if you've got insomnia, you need to work with somebody doing cognitive behavioral therapy. You need to be doing rescheduling. It's a little bit bigger process, not too complicated, very achievable, but that's a different process than sleep hygiene. Sleep hygiene is basically keep your room at a good temperature. I usually tell my clients somewhere between 65 and 75 degrees is really where you want it.
Okay.
So cooler is better. The reason that cooler is better is right before you fall asleep or as you're falling asleep, your core body temperature hits its peak. Around 10:30, it just dumps. And so as it goes down, that's a signal to your brain to release melatonin. So if you're in a hot room, it's not going down. And then it's not releasing melatonin, and then you ain't sleeping. Keeping it quiet makes a lot of sense too. But to be fair, I'm the only sleep doctor in the universe that says it's okay to sleep with the television on.
Oh.
Yes, I'm that guy. So people always ask, why did you do that? So when I met my wife, she said to me, if we ever have a sleepover, I need to let you know that I'd sleep with the television on. And I was like, oh, don't worry about that, hun. I'm going to fix that. I'm going to be a sleep doctor, right?
Famous last words.
Right. I don't know who out there has figured out how to fix something in their partner. Let me know, because failed miserably. So what ended up happening was I took the television out of the room and she told me to get out of the room. And then when I put the TV back in, I got to come back in the room. And so then I studied her. And what I discovered was she wasn't even really watching it. She was listening to it. Right? So here's the thing that she describes to me is that she has this ruminative thought. She can't turn off her brain, right? And that's very common. I mean, I think you and I have had conversations about ruminative thought before,
yes,
right? It's just,
absolutely.
It's one of these things that happens for folks. And so having it, if a TV is just distracting you and your eyes are closed and it's just, the content is kind of rolling over you. Now, look, to be fair, don't watch, news to fall asleep, okay? That's not gonna, watch an old episode of Seinfeld, something that's not too meaningful, but just enough attention so that you're not thinking about these things that are driving you crazy.
So one of the things, and I've been a fan, I took TVs out of our room, but lately I've been having a little more trouble sleeping than usual.
Sure.
And so I've been putting my Pandora on, a timer,
Yeah.
and I listen to Nat Cole or Dean Martin,
It's amazing.
and I just put it on softly, and it's interesting because I would have thought that would have interrupted my ability to go to sleep because I love the music,
Right.
but it seems like it kind of It's like, I don't know, like your mom singing a lullaby?
It's awesome. Look, at the end of the day, if you give yourself some runway to land the plane, you land the plane, right? And so all you're doing is you're helping yourself be distracted by some nice music that has some great memories to it.
So you have a new book, I believe, right?
I do. So it's called The Power of When. And so it's all about this idea of chronotypes, what I was talking about a little bit before. And so the goal initially of the book was to try to really help people sleep better. And so it turns out that we have these genetic predetermined sleep schedules inside our bodies that tell our brains when we should go to sleep and when we shouldn't. And nobody really thinks about them very much, but they turn out to have a tremendous amount of use for even our daily lives. So what I discovered was, first of all, there aren't two. We used to just think early bird, night owl, right? So it turns out there aren't two. There's early bird, there's people in the middle, there's night owl, and then there's a new group, which is what I added to the literature, which were insomniacs, a specific type of genetically predetermined insomniac, right? So kind of interesting. So once you got to figure out which category you're in. But once you figure that out, and there's a quiz, go to chronoquiz.com. It's super simple. Once you land in one of these categories, then you know how your whole hormonal system works. So once you know your chronotype, then you can actually look for times in your natural hormonal rhythm, because hormones are very, very regular. So it's all based on hormone flow. And so once you know that, you can start to find there are perfect times in day when you're more energetic. There are perfect times of day where you're more creative. So we actually discovered all these and we mapped them out on a clock. And so everybody, if they get the book, they figure out their chronotype, and then it gives them like a perfect day in the life of their chronotype. It tells them when to exercise, when to eat. And again, these are suggestions, but this is when your body is ostensibly perfectly primed to do that activity.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So when you look at a book like this, the goal here is to take the quiz and then, do a couple fun things. I actually figured out the best time of day to have sex, eat a cheeseburger, ask your boss for a raise, like you name it. It's unbelievable. Real studies, over 220 studies in the book.
Wow. Sounds great.
Thanks.
Great. Yeah. Michael, thank you so much.
My pleasure.
And I know the people who are watching this are going to get a tremendous amount out of it. And I think they will sleep better too.
I hope they do. I'd love it if people out there, not only do they watch this and enjoy this, but I have a podcast now.
That's right. I'm sorry.
So
I was going to mention that. Yeah.
Give a quick shout and tell people, hey, I've got a podcast. It's called Sleep Success with Dr. Michael Bruce.
So where can people hear your podcast?
Any place for Apple. If you just go to the Apple Podcast Store.
Oh, okay.
And we're on Acast, so we're slowly getting distributed.
Excellent.
Yeah. Thanks.
And you brought your thing?
I did. I brought it here.
Okay. Anywhere up here on the collage?
All right. So I'm going to go high and right.
Okay. There you go.
And that is the book.
The Power of When. Know your chronotype.
That's right.
Michael, thank you so much.
Dude, this is amazing. I had a blast.
That's our show for this week. Stay tuned next week when we have pneumatologist and crystallogist Father Guillermo Garcia. And if you don't know what those are, you'll have to tune in next week. We'll also be talking to an amazing young man named Rishi Sharma, who since high school has been pursuing his absolute passion. Courage at all time, my friends. Marie, you're still my belle.